play that. That was myself and then Tom Whalen and I directed on there. So we've been doing a lot. There's a lot more other stuff that's going on in the voice acting world besides just anime, which is really important. Because even though you guys, who here is interested in, obviously you're here because it's called How to Get Into Voice Acting. Okay, some of you guys have been here before. How many people know how I got into voice acting? Okay, you guys have heard this story. So for the rest of you, I'll start that off since we don't have any pictures. Everybody has a different story. When I started off, which I've been doing this for a long time, I was in school and I was working doing theater a lot. I had gone to a BFA program, I was performing, I was acting, doing all this stuff, I was in college, and I got mono. And I had to drop out 2 weeks before the end of my semester. I cried. It's a big waste of time. Incompletes on everything. As I went home, I stayed out for a year. And during that time, I had my car out there, I had all this stuff going on, and my car was as sick as I was. It would not start up in the mornings. Okay, the battery was dying. It's a long-winded story, but it's very important. My brother decided to take my car. He stole it. Okay? And yeah, that's what the microphone just did. It just like plopped all the way down in despair. That's kind of what I did. So I wake up and I'm like, yeah, Jeremy, I'm like, where the heck is my car? He's like, oh yeah, do you know your car doesn't work? I'm like, yeah, that's why I told you never ever to take my car. He's like, yeah, whatever. Well, you know, I'm like, can you bring it back? He's like, I don't have your car anymore. It's at George's house. I'm like, who's George? He's like, gotta go by. Hangs up. Yeah, so you gotta love older brothers, and he's like part of the, you know, he definitely was the one who went to Icon when all this. I used to steal his anime in the beginning, do all this stuff, and so I'm stuck trying to figure out where the heck this car is. Turns out a friend of ours, Rob Taylor, he calls up and he's like, hey, is Jeremy there? I'm like, no, but do you know who George is? Because he has my car. So I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, I'll pick you up. Picks me up. We go around looking for where George is. Wound up at this bizarre, strange, like circus thing at this mall. Wound up at this other thing. Finally found George. The battery was dead. Had to replace it. During this time, he was interning at a place called Central Park Media, which is no longer around right now. But and he's like, hey, do you know anybody who might want to do like voice acting or something? Because we want some people to come and audition, and they want us all to find somebody. And I was like, how about me? That's what I'm going to school for. And he's like, oh, okay, cool, show up. And I don't hear anything. I go in for the audition for a show called Record of Lotus War. I hear nothing, nothing, nothing. 6 months go by. I get a call. They're like, yeah, we cast you as this character, Deedlin. Okay, so I first went in, I thought I was going to do all these other stuff because normally when I look very different than I sound in a lot of those things. Now I've started doing, they let me do more, I'm doing more older, more evil because I have a big range of my voice. But in the beginning, I was always sort of like these young, perky, always, which is pretty, you know, good in anime. I found out that they actually had thought of casting me for 2 of the roles in it, but that they didn't know who I was. So they're like, I don't know if she can do that. They don't, sometimes they like to vary you up, sometimes they don't. So for me, the next few gigs that I had, someone came into my session that I was working on there. I did not have a demo at that time. I don't think I would be able to necessarily do that this time. That's not something I recommend, unless you have a brother who steals your car and you know someone who's interning someone who's going to come and help you. It's some bizarre free show service. It'll be good. But that's how I got started, and people came in and they sat in on my Lotus War. Then I went in and did a show called Battle Arena Toshinden. Someone came in and saw me there. They called me in for another audition for something else, and they called me in for Slayers. It's a very small kind of circle. I did that, and then I started working on a whole bunch of other stuff. I got that part I got. And I have a phone addiction problem, so you have to help me because I'm checking in at the studio or working on another game, and I'm trying not to do anything about that. But so, a lot of other people that I know, I don't know if anybody knows. You guys know, like, is it Rachel Lillis or a couple of other people? A lot of people will have responded to trade papers. Everything that I've done up until a certain point has always been audition. You guys have a